On the twilight-shrouded world of Tarles, 1,000 pale spires reached toward the eternally dim sky. The Turalians, lithe and luminescent, moved in silent reverence beneath their moon's ghostly glow. For generations uncounted, they worshipped the moon priests, robed figures who read omens in the shifting silver tides. The greatest of their prophecies spoke of the final eclipse, a moment when their moon would swallow all light, plunging their world into endless darkness and cleansing them of sin. The Turalians feared and yearned for this eclipse, for they had been taught that only through final, total darkness could their souls ascend. Every festival, every prayer, every birth was touched by this looming fate. Children painted black crescents on their foreheads. Artists sculpted elaborate obsidian effigies to welcome the long night. The entire civilization drifted toward oblivion with graceful surrender. Then, from the storm-churned skies above, a human ship crash-landed on a coral plain. Its single occupant, Lieutenant Sarah Jennings, staggered from the smoking wreckage, hair wild, suit torn, but eyes burning with the stubborn flame of earth-born life. She was captured by robed moon acolytes and presented before the high oracle beneath the vast temple of the eclipse. The oracle, her skin shimmering like pearl, demanded to know why the human had fallen from the heavens unbidden. Sarah did not offer a ritual apology or surrender her spirit. Instead she laughed, sharp, bright, a sound like sunlight cracking through morning mist. The Turalians recoiled as if struck, and used to such irreverence. When they spoke of the final eclipse, Sarah frowned. "Why would you wait for everything to end?" she demanded. "Why not fight for dawn? Why not build a future that keeps rising?" Her words were considered dangerous heresy. Guards moved to restrain her, but she continued talking, even as they pulled her away. She spoke of Earth's sunrises, the soft warmth after long storms, the way a single seed could crack open barren soil. She described wildflowers blooming on battlefields, children drawing suns on walls during blackouts, families huddling around a single candle and finding strength enough to survive the night. The oracle ordered her confined in a luminous cell below the temple. But Sarah refused to fall silent. Each day she sang Earth songs, small, silly tunes meant to chase away fear. She painted bright images on the walls with bits of powdered shell and minerals from her meals. Golden orbs, blue skies, green fields. At first, her guards avoided looking, but eventually curiosity drew them close. One young acolyte, barely past his first moon festival, slipped into her cell to hear her speak of a sun that always returned. Another brought her extra pigment, so she could paint more stars. Soon, the silent halls of the temple began to echo with hesitant whispers, rumors of warmth and unending dawn. On the eve of the prophesied final eclipse, the Turalians gathered in a vast amphitheater. The moon loomed enormous and trembling above, its shadow crawling across the sky like a living thing. The oracle stood high, arms raised, chanting the last verses of the apocalypse. But a commotion rose from the lower terraces. Sarah had escaped, flanked by dozens of young acolytes and ordinary citizens, their foreheads scrubbed clean of black crescents. She stepped forward, holding a crude torch made from temple offerings. She shouted above the solemn chanting, "This eclipse is not your end. It is a test. Darkness comes, but it must be faced, not worshipped." The oracle shrieked that the human was a liar, a corrupter. But already, thousands turned their eyes toward the flickering flame in Sarah's hand, seeing its glow reflected in one another's eyes. As the moon covered the last sliver of their pale sun, darkness indeed fell, but the Turalians did not cower or kneel. Instead, Sarah lit more torches, passing the flame from one trembling hand to another. Soon, the amphitheater blazed like a field of wildfires, warmth flickering in every corner. The Turalians stood shoulder to shoulder, shivering, yet defiant. When the moon slowly began to drift away from the sun, revealing that brilliant, fragile light, a great collective gasp rose, followed by cautious, then joyous laughter. The eclipse ended, not as annihilation, but as a moment of shadow overcome. The oracle crumbled, her authority evaporating in the rising cheers. Many priests wept as they cast aside their black robes, stepping into the newborn dawn they had never thought possible. In the months that followed, the Turalians dismantled the old temples and built great sunlit atriums instead, open to sky and wind. Children painted bright circles on each other's faces, celebrating each sunrise rather than mourning its eventual loss. Songs replaced dirges, and shared feasts replaced solitary vigils. Sarah stayed long enough to help them rebuild, to show them how to shape clay ovens for warmth, how to capture sunlight in mirrors and crystals, how to plant seeds and wait for green shoots. Before she left on a passing trade ship, she looked back at the once silent city now alive with shouts and music, her heart swelling with pride and bittersweet love. From then on, the Turalians taught that dawn was not a single moment to be lost or feared, but an unending promise carried in every heart. Their moon priests had awaited the final eclipse, but a single human taught them that as long as they carried fire and hope within, dawn would never truly end.